Not many Protestants during the time period of the Reformation could say they had an audience with the Pope. Let Lavinia Della Rovere stands amongst a very select group of people and lived to tell the tale. Lavinia was the daughter of Nicola Della Rovere, part of an illustrious and powerful Italian family who were wealthy and affluent. Lavinia could count 30 cardinals and 3 popes in her family tree, including Pope Julius II, known as the Warrior Pope, who was her grand uncle. Lavinia's father was also related to the Duke of Urbino, another illustrious and powerful Italian family. Upon marriage, she received the title the Princess Orsini, and also her husband Paolo Orsini was very powerfully connected. His father Camillo was a close confidant of the Pope and was also powerfully connected. As is often the case, despite coming from a wealthy and affluent family, she was often very lonely, with her husband traveling incessantly throughout Europe and often leaving her with rich and powerful friends. It was during one trip when they went to Ferrara that her husband left her with the Duke and the Duchess, and it was there in Ferrara where she got to know Olympia. It was her friendship with Olympia that gave her much comfort and support during a difficult time in her life. But perhaps more importantly, it was through this friendship that she was introduced to the ideas of the Reformation. She was initially open to it, but cautious, willing to listen, but hesitant to embrace for a number of reasons. When her husband traveled, she was often depressed, and Olympia helped turn her eyes to Jesus for comfort, and this helped change her perspective of God. Interestingly, a baker from Faenza named Finino Finini, who himself had been introduced to the Reformation by a monk named Bernardino, would have an impact on both ladies. He was caught by the Roman Inquisition, tried for heresy, and sentenced to death. Whilst he was in prison, his wife visited him and begged him to recant, which sadly he did. As he returned back to his bakery, his recantation deeply bothered him, and soon he decided to leave again and go and preach. He was caught the second time, but this time he refused to recant, and he was sent to the court of the Duke of Ferrara, and whilst there he had an opportunity to meet Olympia and Lavinia. He was imprisoned here in the Castello Estense, and Rene tried to advocate on his behalf, but she was unsuccessful. Both Lavinia and Olympia were touched by his plight, and they visited him in prison. And no doubt seeing his firm faith and courage under such trying circumstances inspired Lavinia. She decided to personally advocate on his behalf, writing letters to her father-in-law pleading with him to present his case to the Pope. But unfortunately, Finini was caught in a religio-political controversy between the Duke of Ferrara and the Pope, and in spite of her pleading his case, she was unsuccessful. Finally, on a trip to Rome, Lavinia made the bold decision to speak to the Pope personally, pleading passionately his case, thus exposing her own beliefs and drawing the ire of the Pope. Though she would not be persecuted openly, some say she was threatened by the Pope, but ultimately it was her powerful family connections that saved her. Her faith was now out in the open, and it would remain undimmed, and she is one of the very few Italians who would remain here in Italy whilst retaining her faith. She is an example of someone who had courage under fire, who had boldness in the midst of such darkness, and was not content to let her light hide under a bushel. May we have that same boldness that she had. And if we have influence, may we use our influence for the good of others and to further the gospel when God calls us. Lineage is a crowd-funded non-profit studio. We make videos, we write articles and books, and we've got a podcast. And it's all to share the stories of biblical and Christian role models in history. We uncover heroes from the past to inspire, guide, and help today's generation connect the past with the present and the future. And it's all free for you because it's been generously paid for by thousands of supporters all over the world. Your support is helping millions of people understand their identity, their purpose, and their mission in life. Crowdfunded means whatever you give, big or small, helps us accomplish our mission. You can help us make more resources by joining our mission. You can give at lineagejourney.com.